call to order. It's now 7:05 p.m. Public portion of the meeting begins. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Business Administrator Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the municipal building, communicated to the Herald News, the Record, and filed with the Clerk of the Borough of Hawthorne. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carr. Mr. Clavijo.
Here.
Mr. Doyle.
Here.
Ms. Ehrentraut. Ms. Goff.
Here.
Ms. Mulkey-Colton.
Here.
Mr. Palouse.
Here.
Ms. Vega.
Here.
Mr. Goff. Mr. Totaro.
Here. Everyone, please rise for flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity, early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for purpose of addressing items listed for approval on the agenda, on this agenda only. The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and or directly related to the operation of the school district. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, rise, state their name, address, and subject matter. Comments and questions shall be addressed to the board president or the presiding officer and shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. The board may or may not respond to issues raised by members of the public at the time they are raised, but will provide a response if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of the other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during this public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be held personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with the district policy, the board would not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has been brought up to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve this issue. And on that note, I will turn it over to Dr. Sprito for the budget presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Totaro. You're not off to a great start. Had some technical difficulties, so for those of you at home, we apologize for the delay. For those of you who are here tonight, we appreciate you being here. Hopefully everyone has a copy of the presentation. So before I begin the formal presentation, I just want to say thank you for being here and for attending, for those who are attending virtually. And I want to welcome you to the 2025-2026 Hawthorne Public Schools Annual Budget Presentation. Our goal tonight is to provide our parents and community members with an overview of the budget for the 2025-2026 school year for the Hawthorne Public Schools. Before I begin, I feel it's important to share that this process is challenging each and every year, including tonight. We've even faced challenges tonight. But the board and administration take great care in developing the annual budget, as we recognize the importance of quality schools for everyone in our community. We remain dedicated to providing the opportunities necessary for our students to succeed while remaining mindful of our fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers of Hawthorne. I'd also like to take a moment to show our appreciation for the ongoing support of our school PTOs, the Athletic Booster Club, the Hawthorne Education Foundation, Project Graduation, and our Special Education Parent Advisory Council. The financial support each of those groups provide is appreciated and extremely beneficial to the students and staff in our school district, and once again, we just want to say thank you. So that being said, we'll move on to our agenda for tonight, slide 2, for those who are here. So tonight, our goal is to obviously discuss our overall district budget, which starts with our budget process. What does that process look like starting in the fall? We'll be talking about the challenges of rising costs that all districts are facing. We'll be talking about some things that we can do to supplement your tax dollars, as well as some fiscal efficiencies, some things that we can do in partnership with other school districts to save money for our school district. We'll then get into our 2025-2026 budget. We'll provide a little bit of an overview. We're going to be talking about something called the Tax Aid Incentive Program, which we'll get into in a little while, as well as our tax levy and the impact to our taxpayers in Hawthorne. And then we'll dive deeper into our revenues and appropriations. The final part of our presentation will be an overview of all that our budget supports at all levels, our elementary school, middle school, and high school in the areas of technology and curriculum instruction. Okay. So if I skip down again to slide 3, the budget process. So I want to begin by saying this is a long process. That process was a little bit modified this year because we had a transition in our business administrator in the middle of that process. So just to give you an idea of what that process looks like. In November and December, our building administrators and department leaders meet with myself and the business administrator to discuss their individual budgets or their department budgets. Those budgets are reviewed. We talk about changes from last year or from this year to next year, and then that information is taken by our business administrator to begin developing our district budget. Now, as I mentioned, that process of that putting the budget together happens around January. Well, that's exactly when we were transitioning from one business administrator to another. So that was a challenging process this year, but we were able to get through that process. And then once we get through that process, then we begin meeting with our finance committee and the board as a whole to provide an update to the board as to where we are in that process and what the budget looks like for the 25-26 school year. So the preliminary budget is shared with the board. This year, that preliminary budget was approved on March 18th of 2025 and then submitted to the county office for their approval. And that process, or that date of the submission is March 20th, 2025. And I want to highlight that date of March 20th because I'm going to talk about some changes that happened after March 20th in this year's budget process. So we submitted our budget on March 20th for their approval. The budget was returned in early April and was approved. And that brings us here tonight to our budget hearing. Okay, so that's just a summary of our budget process. We move on to slide 4. As I mentioned in my opening, every year districts, all school districts face challenges of rising costs, and again, this year was no different. All school districts deal with things like rising inflation rates, the nationwide teacher, school bus driver, and paraprofessional shortages, as well as double-digit increases in school employee health benefits. All of those things, and as well as others, continue to pose challenges and provide significant budgetary pressures for school districts. We also continue to see increases in our out-of-district costs, including our students attending PCTVS, Passaic County Technical Institute, as well as our special education costs and our transportation costs. And again, all of the above items pose challenges for school districts with a 2% cap. And although this year we did see a slight increase in our state aid, we actually received an additional $233,628 in our state aid allocation for next school year, we are still $651,000 below our state aid allocation from the 23-24 school year. So although we did get a little bit more money this year, we're still $650,000 below where we were 2 years ago. Okay. So if we move on to the next slide. So what can we do as a school district to overcome some of those challenges, right? To overcome, the fact that our state aid is less than it was 2 years ago, to overcome some of the challenges in rising costs. So there's a couple things we can do. Number one, we do get federal grant funding estimated in about $1.2 million. That's our title funds, titles 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as some other federal money that we do receive. And the other thing I want to share is we do apply for grants. Now, although these grants were approved a year ago, the work will actually be happening this summer, which is why I included it in this year's presentation. So although we were approved for a ROD grant for both our Lincoln Middle School roof and our Roosevelt School roof. The Lincoln School roof was done last year, the Roosevelt School roof will be done this summer. And the good news is we're gonna get about 40% of those costs reimbursed to the district. So that's one way we can offset some of those rising costs. Another grant that we received was called the COPS grant, the Community Oriented Policing Services grant, or the SVVP grant, the School Violence Prevention Program grant. And we received $500,000 for that grant. And that grant will be used this summer to replace all of our public address systems in all 5 of our schools. And that $500,000 will cover approximately 65% of the costs of that project. So again, that's another way that we can offset some of those rising costs. If we move on to the next slide, some of our fiscal efficiencies, this is another way that we can offset some of those rising costs. So our school district continues to explore fiscal efficiencies. As you can see from this slide, we are part of numerous consortiums which provide opportunities for better pricing. Obviously, if we contracted with these companies independently, it would be more expensive, but because we're part of these consortiums, it saves our district money. So we're part of an insurance consortium for liability and workers' compensation insurance. We're part of a statewide consortium to purchase internet access. We're part of big consortiums for all of our instructional and office supplies, technology equipment, special ed transportation. We're part of an E-rate program for telecommunications. We have our outsourced cafeteria services, and we also have a shared services agreement or a contract with the borough for garbage recycling and school security. So again, those are some ways that we can offset some of those rising costs to help balance our budget. Okay, moving on to slide 7. So this year's budget obviously supports all of our schools as well as our Bear Cave transition program, our 18 to 21 program, and a projected enrollment of a little over 2,400 students. Our total budget for the 25-26 school year is $57,407,446. Now, you'll see a little asterisk underneath there that says prior to approval of additional expenditure application. So you're going to see that, and I'll explain why as we get into this presentation a little further. But that was the amount that we sent to the county for their approval on March 20th. Okay. Skip to the next slide, slide 8, our tax levy. So as you'll see from the tax levy, we not only are at the 2%, which is the statutory cap, but we actually went above the 2% this year to 3.42%. And the reason that we were able to do that is because not only did we go to the statutory 2%, but we had additional funds available to the district, one of them being healthcare adjustment funds in the amount of $601,000. We also had banked cap funds in the total amount of $19,223. So if you include those amounts, the $601,266,000 and the $19,223,000, that is what brings you to the 3.42% increase. You will see on the next line that our debt service, we see a reduction in our interest in our debt service or our bonds. So it actually brings the increase to 3.34% total. All right, again, this is the information that was sent to the county on March 20th. We skip ahead to the next slide. What does that 3.34% increase mean to our taxpayers in Hawthorne? Well, on the average assessed home value at $381,881, which is considered the average assessed home in Hawthorne, the increase is $11.07 a month, or $132.81 per year. Right. And again, just want to reiterate that this was the information that was sent on March 20th for county approval. Okay. Skip to the next slide, slide 10. So after our submission on March 20th, on Friday, March 28th, we received notification from the New Jersey Department of Education that we were eligible to increase our expenditures even further. And this provision that they shared with us provides certain school districts the opportunity to apply to the commissioner to increase expenditures, including an allocation of tax levy incentive aid, which means that if we applied for increased expenditures, the state would provide some additional aid, some incentive aid for us to do that. In order to satisfy the thoroughness and efficiency standards established pursuant to NJSA. That's why they were allowing districts to apply for this additional aid. And what it says is the school district is eligible to apply to the commissioner if, number one, the district has a fiscal year 2025 general fund tax levy that is less than the fiscal year 2026 local fair share. Now, I'll explain local fair share in a second, as calculated pursuant to state statute. And number two is the district is spending below adequacy as determined pursuant to NJSA, which is state statute. And what the state told us is that we are considered to be spending under adequacy. And we were eligible to ask the taxpayer for an additional $3 million, $3,099,000. The other caveat to this is we had 2 weeks as a board to discuss and decide how we were going to move forward. Okay? Now, let me just clarify what local fair share is so everyone's clear. Local fair share is a formula-based estimate of the amount a municipality should be able to raise through property taxes based on the property, wealth, and aggregate income. Local fair share is derived from an equalized formula that considers equalized property valuation, or the total assessed value of the taxable property in the district and the sum of all income reported by residents in the school district through income tax filings. So that's how it's determined if you are spending below adequacy and what's considered to be local fair share. So the resulting local fair share is used as a benchmark to determine whether the district is contributing an appropriate amount through the general tax levy fund, or general fund tax levy, excuse me. So as I mentioned, we received this on Friday, March 28th, after our budget was submitted. We were given 2 weeks to submit. We had to submit the application by April 14th, and hope that, and then see where we ended up. After numerous discussions and consideration by the board and the administration, we actually decided to move forward by requesting an additional $734,557, which included $34,979 of incentive aid from the state. Okay, that's what we had applied for back on April 14th. We were hopeful that these additional funds would help, would not require us to use the $900,000 that was allocated from our maintenance reserve account for this year's budget. So that was the intent behind requesting those funds. All right, now let me tell you where we are now. So if you skip to the next slide, it continues to talk about tonight and what we received. Now I can tell you we received the approval today at 3:53 p.m., so we haven't had a lot of time to review what we received, but here's what I can tell you what we received. So as per you'll see on tonight's agenda, I'm not going to read through the first bullet, but basically you'll see that on our agenda, that we were permitted to apply based on the fact that we were spending under adequacy. And the second bullet says, whereas Hawthorne Board of Education is below local fair share and spending below adequacy to be eligible to participate in this program. So although we asked for, as I said, about $734,000, we were approved for $311,007, and we were also provided with $15,550 of incentive aid from the state, which means we received a total of $326,557. So about, a little less than half of what we requested, or about half of what we requested from the state. And that equates to, now with that increase, it equates not to 3.34%, but to 4.04%. So at 4.04%, the updated increase to the taxpayer, if you go to the next slide, is now $14.76 per month, or $177.12 for the year. It also increases our total budget to $57,734,003. So as you can see, there's a new asterisk now reflecting the approval of additional expenditure application. I hope that all made sense. So that will be, if the board approves the budget tonight, that will be the increase for our community. $14.76 per month, or $177.12 per year. Okay. Now, let's dive a little deeper into some of these numbers. So if you go to slide 13, where it says revenues, I'll share that, as you can see, the majority of our funding, obviously, for our district comes from our tax levy. Just under 80% of our funding comes from the general tax levy. However, all districts get additional funding from state aid, as I mentioned earlier. Our other revenues include things like fund balance, miscellaneous revenue, and special revenue. Right, and those include things like IDEA funds. They include things like E-rate funding. They include things like interest, tuition revenue, those types of things when you talk about these other revenue sources. All right, we skip to the next slide with the chart. We delve a little deeper into our general fund revenues. As I mentioned, our tax levy is now at 4.04%. And you can see on the second line, our state aid increased by $233,000 for the 25-26 school year. And the next line, you'll see a slight reduction in the amount of budgeted fund balance used in the 25-26 budget from the 24-25 budget. We've also budgeted $1,530,000 from our reserve accounts. Approximately $630,000 was taken from our capital reserve account to complete numerous projects this summer, and those projects include things like paving at our Roosevelt and Jefferson Elementary schools. They include some exterior stair repairs at Roosevelt School, the gym floor at Roosevelt School, some fencing as well in the district, as well as some other projects. So that's where that $630,000 from capital reserve will be used this summer. We've also budgeted $900,000 from our maintenance reserve, and I mentioned this earlier. We did budget that money from our maintenance reserve to fund maintenance projects throughout the district, and our hope was with that incentive aid to help offset some of those costs, which has been slightly reduced from what we had requested from the state. You'll also notice a decrease in our miscellaneous revenue line, and the reason for that is in the 24-25 school year, we had a large E-rate project, which is not the case in the 25-26 school year, so we're getting a little bit less from E-rate this year, which is why you see a decrease in that line. There's also a slight decrease in our tuition funds based on out-of-district students not attending our special ed programs, but that's just a very small decrease there. And finally, under Medicaid reimbursement, you'll see that these funds were decreased as well. These funds come from the state, and I can tell you that all districts in New Jersey were cut, received significant cuts. Ours was about an 85% reduction, and that was consistent across the state. So there is a reduction there, but again, that was state funding that everyone realized. All right, if we skip to the next slide, our appropriations. This chart is divided into categories which mimic the categories the state requires the school district to report as part of our district budget. You'll see that approximately 35% of our total costs are associated with general and special education, which includes salaries. As discussed in the beginning of the presentation, our out-of-district tuition costs custodial maintenance, so on and so forth. All right, we jump to the next slide, slide 16, where you have the general fund appropriation chart. You'll see that out-of-district tuition line shows a significant increase, and again, this includes all of our out-of-district students, including our enrollment at PCTI. And our enrollment did go up from about 5 students for next year. Looking at the instruction line, there's a slight increase, in that line, about $37,000 in instruction. And although we have not reduced, if you look at the next slide, administration, although we have not reduced any administrative positions, the administrative line does show a slight decrease, but that was due to reclassification of some of our administrative costs between categories. However, just to clarify, we did not eliminate any administrative positions in next year's budget. The employee benefits line has increased significantly, and as I can tell you, there were approximately between 15 and a 20% increase based on the health insurance plans, but that's why you see that $800,000 increase there. Transportation line has also increased. Those costs continue to go up, and I can tell you that we continue to investigate strategies to try to improve efficiencies in our transportation. We'll try to continue to look at shared routes, in-house transportation versus contracted routes, those types of things. Our maintenance, custodial, and security costs increased due to rising costs of services, products, and repairs. And once again, you see our capital projects. This year we withdrew a little over $630,000 to fund the projects, some of the ones that I mentioned earlier. Okay, skipping to the next slide as we continue. Now we'll get into the second half of our presentation now, where we're going to talk about what this budget supports, the areas that this budget supports. All right, and if you skip down to the next slide, the budget does support minor reductions to district faculty and staff. I can tell you that we are eliminating our Hope program, unfortunately, which includes not only the rental of the facility, but the staffing at that facility. We are reducing our custodial staff by one person and one administrative assistant position. We're also reducing our budget by a consultant who will handle our state reporting and some of our supplies for our director of education. However, our district does support all of our extracurricular activities, clubs, and athletic programs. Minor reductions to professional development at all levels, curricular revisions in accordance with the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, supports our continued implementation of our barricade transition program for 18 to 21-year-old special education students, and continued support of our NJTSS program and staff, our multi-sensory teachers at the elementary schools. Going back to our extracurriculars, I can share that we're supporting about 19 varsity sports and 7 teams at our middle school. I would say we have approximately 15 clubs at the high school and at the middle school, 15 each, along with other extracurriculars, intramurals, marching band, chorus, fall and spring drama productions, student council, our honor societies, Italian, Spanish, and National Honor Society, our Heroes and Cool Kids program, our No Place for Hate program, and much more. So all of that is continuing as we move forward into the 25-26 school year. In the area of technology, this budget does support and maintain our one-to-one initiative in students grades 6 through 12. And I say one-to-one, those students do receive a device they can take home with them, but I can tell you we are just about one-to-one even in our elementary schools. Even though the students don't take them home, they have classroom carts of devices that are available to students. So I would say at this point we're pretty much one-to-one pre-K through 12 with iPads being used at the pre-K and kindergarten levels. Continued cybersecurity training for our staff is also included in next year's budget. The installation of environmental sensors or vape sensors at the middle school and high school. Those will be installed in the next few months and into the summer. Replacement of our public address system, I mentioned that, at all 5 of our schools. This is another huge benefit for next year, the replacement of our handheld radios to improve communication, not just within our district, between our schools and our bus drivers, but it also will be have an opportunity to connect with our police department. So these new radios will allow us, in an emergency, to use those radios interchangeably with the members of the Hawthorne Police Department, which we're very happy about. And finally, it will expand our cybersecurity protections for our servers and our network district-wide. We move on to the next slide, our curriculum instruction. At Hawthorne High School, the 25-26 budget will maintain, again, all of our current academic programs, our dual enrollment programs, which include dual enrollment opportunities with FDU, Passaic County Community College, Seton Hall, and Ramapo, and we'll also be adding William Patterson University in the 25-26 school year. So we're excited about all those dual enrollment opportunities for our students to gain college credit while here at Hawthorne High School. It will continue to support our AP course offerings. We have about 19 AP courses offered at the high school, and they may differ based on student interest, but the number of courses typically remains the same. It'll include new dual enrollment courses of honors calculus, acting, sports medicine, advanced drawing and design, and broadcasting too. Supports the development of curriculum for the following new AP courses: AP Economics, and curricular revisions for English as a second language and Algebra 2. Include the implementation of a new universal screener, iReady, which will replace Renaissance Learning, which includes instructional support for our students. So that's one of the benefits of this new program, is it's not just a universal screener, but it provides instructional support as well, and provides continued professional development opportunities for our staff. At the middle and elementary schools, the 2025-2026 budget will maintain all of our academic programs, supports all of our curricular revisions, all of our elective courses. Once again, the implementation of our iReady program. new supplemental math intervention programs, do the math and transition to algebra, one being elementary and the transition to algebra being middle school, high school. And it provides for continued professional development opportunities for all staff, including Concord math training and training for our ELA series. So as you can see, we're continuing with some of the great things that are happening in our district. Although these budgets continue to get tougher, we're doing our best to maintain everything that we've worked hard to implement over the years. So before I turn this back over to Mr. Totaro and the board members for questions, I'd just like to take a moment to share a few things. First, I want to thank Mrs. Radcliffe Lee, our interim business administrator, for her efforts in preparing this year's budget. I appreciate all of her hard work to prepare and submit this budget in a timely manner, especially due to the compressed timeline with her arrival in late January, and of course with the new information that we received on March 28th. I also have to thank my administrative team who's here tonight for their assistance. Their continued support and vision for our school district is critical to the development of our short and long-term goals for the Hawthorne Public Schools. They played a critical role in working through our budget challenges that we face every single year, and I thank you guys for all that you do every year. I want to thank the board members, and more specifically the Finance Committee, for their time in working through the challenges of the budget, and not just this year's budget, but all the previous year's budget. As this is my last budget here in Hawthorne, I appreciate the support of our board through the process, especially this year with the unique opportunity that was provided to us late in the game. I am truly proud of all that we've accomplished over the past year, and I'm confident that the 2025-2026 school year will be another successful and productive year. I want to wish the new superintendent and the administrative team all the best in the 2025-2026 school year. Finally, please know that this presentation will be available on our website, hopefully tomorrow, and will remain on there as we do each year. And on that note, I will turn it over to Mr. Totaro and the board members for any questions or comments about the presentation. Thank you, guys.
Open up to questions or comments before we go to public hearing. All right. With that being said, we'll move to public be heard, budget item only. All right. Motion to close the public budget hearing. Motion by
Second.
Mr. Monticello. Second by Mr. Clavillo. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Carr? Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Miss Aaron-Trump? Mrs. Goff?
Yes.
Miss Moki Kulzan?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mrs. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we will go to budget action items. Mr. Clavillo.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
President.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Public be heard, agenda items only. Apologize. Now, budget action items.
Mr. President, pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions. On page 3, B1, adoption of the final budget with modification to the tentative budget approved by the interim executive county superintendent. Continued on page 4 and on to page 5. On page 5, we have B2 and B3. Approval of the withdrawal from maintenance and capital reserve accounts. Continuing on to page 6, B4 and B5. On behalf of the committee, is so moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Clavillo, seconded by Mr. Palouse. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Actually, sorry, I do have a statement.
Sure.
Thank you. The state has to do better. It's a prepared statement. There's no rhyme or reason to their financial formulas. On one hand, they tell us we don't qualify for additional state aid, but yet prompt us this year to request our fair share of the tax levy funding to the tune of up to $3 million. They gave us 2 weeks to figure out how much of the $3 million we would request. After struggling to figure out how much additionally to request, as per their formula, we could have raised the tax levy up to 10%, but we decided to remain at 4.9%. We submit the request in a timely manner, and then today at 4 p.m., we get notified that we're only getting $300,000. This is my 12th year serving on the Finance Committee. Again, I say the state has to do better. There is no rhyme or reason as to their formulas, and the time crunches they impose creates for stress and burnout to our superintendents, business administrators, and board members. Something else to be mindful of is that the state has allowed for districts to tax the public above and beyond the 2% cap without public approval. Some districts to the tune of double digits. If you remember, years back when we changed the election from April to November, we did not have to have public approval provided we stayed below that 2% cap. That's been the rule all along, right up to this year. This year they changed the rules, and again, some districts actually tax their public to the tune of 10%, higher than 10% without public approval. That's something to be mindful of. That being said, I want to thank our business administrators, superintendent, administrators, and fellow board members for all the time and effort devoted to this review.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Ms. Aaron Trout? Mrs. Goff?
Yes.
Ms. Mulkey Coxan?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mrs. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Carr? Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, Finance Administration, back to you, Mr. Cleo.
Thank you. Action items pursuant to the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions on page 7, F1 and F2. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cleo, seconded by Mr. Palouse. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Ms. Aaron Trout? Mrs. Goff?
Yes.
Ms. Mulkey Coxan?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mrs. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Carr? Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, and now, personnel. Mrs. Goff.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. P1, P2, and P3 on page 7, continuing on to page 8. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Who was that?
It was me.
Oh, Ms. Wilson. All right. Discussion?
I have a little statement.
Yes.
I just want to take a moment to congratulate the impending new superintendent, Mr. Matthew Magdanelli, on his appointment this evening. We are very excited to have you as part of the Hawthorne community. There was a rigorous pool of candidates that he competed with, 45 other members, 8 of which were chosen to be interviewed. He comes with over 20 years of experience in education. Many of them were held in Wayne. The last 15 years have been in Wayne. He served as a high school teacher, then an assistant principal, then a principal, and eventually director of secondary education. I don't want to steal all of his thunder, so I'll leave some of his himself to tell you about. And we would like to plan some sort of community event, but we really do want to welcome you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to second what Abby said, and congratulations. We're so happy. It was a tough process. We put you through a lot, but you stuck with it, and it's really nice to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Roll call, please.
Ms. Aaron Trout? Mrs. Goff?
Yes.
Ms. Mulkey Coxan?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mrs. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Carr? Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
At this time, public be heard. Members of the public may ask questions or make comments on educational issues or school matters. Seeing none, we'll move on to general comments and questions from the board related to school district. Starting to your left, my left.
Good, thank you.
I'll just save mine for next week.
I have a prepared statement I created. On behalf of the Hawthorne Board of Education, I would like to take a moment to sincerely thank Dr. Sprito, Mrs. Ratcliffe-Lee, and the entire administrative and support staff for their hard work, collaboration, and countless hours dedicated to developing the 2025-2026 school budget. The process of creating a responsible and forward-thinking budget that balances the educational needs of our students with financial responsibility to our taxpayers is no small task. Your careful planning and attention to detail and commitment, despite the obstacles to excellence, are truly appreciated. Tonight's presentation reflects the strength of your work and your unwavering dedication to the success of our district and the children of Hawthorne. Thank you again for your outstanding efforts. I'd also like to take the opportunity to formally acknowledge and express my deep appreciation to my fellow board members, as well as Ms. Kelly Mitchell of the NJSBA, for their diligence, commitment, and professionalism throughout the search process for the next superintendent of schools. Your collaboration, thoughtful deliberations, and adherence to the highest standards of governance ensured a thorough and comprehensive process, resulting in the successful appointment of our new district's educational leader. Thank you for your steadfast dedication to the future of the Hawthorne School District. And finally, on behalf of the Board of Education and the Hawthorne School community, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our newly appointed superintendent, Mr. Matt McAnally. We look forward to your leadership and the new opportunities that lie ahead of our district. We are confident that under your guidance, the Hawthorne Public Schools will continue to build upon the strength and the strong foundation and great work achieved by Dr. Sprito during his distinguished tenure. We wish you much success as you lead our district into the future, always keeping the best interests of our students, staff, and community at the forefront of your vision. Thank you.
so much.
Any other comments? New business, old business? All right. Seeing none? Motion?
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Doyle, seconded by Mrs. Goff. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goff?
Yes.
Ms. Milky Colzan?
Yes.
Mr. Palooz?
Yes.
Mrs. Vega?
Yes.
Mr. Carr? Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Ms. Aaron Trout? Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody.